I had the pleasure of meeting you in Texas in January. Went out there, I was able to speak on stage sharing part of my journey. And, I was sat down and I got to hear yours. And it's funny enough because Teresa told me about you probably in summer of last year, and we just never got that connection going. And so it's funny how things work out and, God led me to be there and, I was able to hear you and kind of like, yes, now I have to like get you on the podcast, right? Because what you share, you're creating a bigger impact. And I know you're in the community there and stuff like that, but you're helping so much more, not just now, but even in the kids' lives thereafter and their kids and whatever, right? And we can navigate into all that. But that's how big I see it, right? Um, so I would love for you to share, Tom, a little bit about yourself first and what you're passionate about right now at this moment.
Yeah, so thank you, man. I feel the same way. It's like I feel like that us sitting together meeting in January was kind of an ordained thing, and it was like just happened to pull up a seat next to you, say, "Hey, can I sit here?" And here we are. Yeah, so I am a. You can tell by the way I talk. I'm a Texas boy, born and raised in the South. I grew up in a house. I tell people man, I grew up in a house where I was really brainwashed in a lot of ways. I had a mom who led me to believe that I could do anything that I put my mind to, right? I had a father who came behind that and basically said that that's true as long as you're willing to do the work. It's you can't read about doing push-ups. You got to do the reps, right? And, so we were a family that just like everyone around us, we struggled financially. We struggled in, trying to have enough food for my brother and I. My dad was a traveling drug rep. So, the funny thing is that, I tell people that my dad sold drugs, as a kid. It was legal. It was for a pharmaceutical company, but he was on the road all the time. So being on the road, he was gone during the week, and it was my mother and my younger brother and I. And, things were tight like everybody else. I joke a lot about we didn't have cereal bowls to eat out of. We had, spaghetti stained Cool Whip bowls that we used for ice cream and spaghetti and soup, and, I mean, that was just and everybody around us was like that. We didn't know any different. So, I had a wonderful childhood, in spite of all of that. I distinctly remember and I shared a little bit about this, but I distinctly remember being in grade school and pulling out my meal ticket, and back in I am old enough to remember the days that we had these little paper meal tickets that was like a punch card, and, I pulled mine out, at lunchtime to get it punched by the lunch lady, and the guy next to me, his name was Kent, he looked at me and he said, "Hey, dude, yours is red and mine is blue. Like, what's going on?" And I didn't know. I didn't know that I was one of those kids on a special meal program. Um, so that was kind of the first kind of awakening of something is different here. And, I remember there were times I don't wanna paint a dark picture because I had a wonderful childhood, but I remember times that my dad was gone and mom would take us out to eat to a Mexican food restaurant. We didn't have the money to go out to eat, but we would go and we would sit at the table, and they would bring us complimentary chips and queso, and we would eat and fill our bellies and then leave and not order a meal, and we would essentially have some free food. So, um, that was something that really those kind of things really shape you as an adult, and so as an adult, you work hard and you want your kids to have more than you had, and you want them to have things that you didn't have, and, so I just was kinda launched into this situation here in the Austin, Texas area where there were kids that didn't have enough food to eat, and so that kind of awakened this passion, in me because I had this realization that, man, I was one of those kids and I didn't even know it. And, how do we make an impact? How do we make an impression? The word impress literally means to press into, like to make a dent into something. So how do we make a dent in the lives of these children that not only affects them this weekend, but can have a ripple effect over the school year with their grades and their relationships and their futures? And it has been a passion that I didn't know I was gonna have. You wake up in one morning and you look around and you're like, "Oh, I didn't expect my life to take this turn." But it's a blessing to be on this journey.
Yeah, so you're helping kids
Mm.
have food to eat, right? And so can you share a little bit more about that? Because these kids, they don't have the opportunity to buy food at lunch, right? So they have these tickets, I guess, maybe if that's how it is now too, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, so in the state of Texas, 1 out of 4 kids doesn't have food to eat when they're away from school. So these are kids who rely on they sign up for, free and reduced meals, so they are signed up for a program at school, and, they report to school, their names are on a list, they go to breakfast, and they go to lunch, and those meals are paid for by the school system, by the state, essentially. But the problem is that these kids, when they're away from school when they leave school on Friday afternoon, their last meal has been lunch, and these kids don't have access to food on a regular basis and over the weekend. So they may not have anything to eat from Friday lunch to Monday breakfast again. And so we launched this program called Backpack Friends, super simple, just to kind of bridge the gap, right? To stand in the gap for these kids and to provide food for them that some may be living in a car, some may be they're unhoused, so they may not be in a home. They may be in a long term hotel or motel situation. They may be a multi-family situation in a house. Um, so that's kind of like the picture. You think about it. 25% of the kids in my neighborhood, 25% of the kids in in Texas in general don't have access to food, and in the country we live in, it's hard to believe that staggering statistic exists, right? Um, but that's a real number, and, that has in the beginning was really overwhelming. Like, how do we impact these kids? So we started I'll tell you this, we started by feeding there was a girl who passed out one Monday at a high school about 2 blocks from us. Her name is Mari. She passed out on a Monday during her in her English class just because she didn't have food to eat over the weekend. She was just, she was out of gas. She ran out of calories. And so we my wife and we grabbed some people when we heard about it. I got pulled into a meeting with some other people in the city and we started we adopted feeding 12 kids at one elementary school right down the street, thought, you know, you can't do everything, but everybody can do something. You can do one thing. And so our one thing was we're going to do our best to take care of these 12 kids and mobilize volunteers and people from, you know, churches and scout clubs and local businesses and moms groups and PTOs and parent groups. So we just we launched feeding those 12 kids, and it as that began to spread, then, word begins to spread across the community and across Central Texas, and that has led into us feeding about 200,000 children, just super grassroots, very, very hyper local, right here, in my own backyard. So
That's a lot of kids.
that's a lot of kids, man, a lot of kids, and we have a truckload of volunteers. We are all volunteer run, outside of me and my wife. Um, we have these, I tell people we have these, packing parties, we call it. So every Monday night, we have, people from all over the community come to our warehouse, and we crank up. I'm a musician, in another life, so we crank up the music, and if you can imagine, we have this big box store here, I don't know where, it's a national chain, Costco. There's
Okay.
like Costco and Sam's Club. So if you can imagine a Costco or a Sam's Club, um, and Beyonce having a baby and then throwing a party, right? Like that's like this huge, and so we crank up the music and we put all these volunteers to work and we pack all this food. And it one of the greatest one of the coolest things is that you will have people from all walks of life. I mean, just like you and I, like our paths would have never crossed if it hadn't been for Teresa.
Mhm.
And so we, we have people come from just all different walks of life, and they plug in together, and they make friends with each other, and, they're all singing Sweet Caroline together by the end of the night, and they're doing all these fun things, and, then we distribute that food to campuses at the end of the week, and it goes home to in backpacks to fill their tummies, and, yeah, 200,000 kids wha is the equivalent of, filling Wembley Stadium twice and leaving about 10,000 kids in the parking lot. So
Wow.
that's a lot of kids.
Wow. So all this food's in a backpack, like, for each kid?
Yeah. So we started by filling backpacks with food and delivering it to schools. We would have teachers and nurses and counselors identify students who are in need, keep those names anonymous because we want, dignity and respect is a huge thing. So we have that list, under lock and key, and we deliver to those campuses, and they distribute those. Um, it got to be a little daunting. It got to be a little overwhelming to try to collect all those backpacks again, refill them again, get them back to the right kids. So we started packing food in like grocery bags, just those plastic, bags you would get at the market. So we pack those up and we deliver those to the campuses, and that way those children can put those bags of food in their own backpack. So it's totally, you know, on the down low, it's totally under the radar, it's totally, anonymous, um, and, so all those logistics is something that, as a guitar player, I was not trained for, like, we had to figure that out. So, yeah.
And what's that feel like trying to figure this all out as you go?
Oh, man. John, it it's overwhelming at times, like, especially in the beginning. I had someone a lot smarter than me say, "Dude, just say yes and figure it out." Like, "Just say, 'Yeah, we'll do it, and we'll figure it out.'" And it's funny, when you lean into your purpose, like, you lean into something you're called to do or you're built to do, and you're not afraid to broadcast it. I would get on social media and say, "Hey, this is what we're doing. I need help with this. Anybody have a connection with a backpack manufacturer or someone who sells, fruit?" Like, whatever. When you do that kinda thing, it's amazing that people will come in droves. I mean, people just show up to help and say, "Hey, I don't know anybody that makes backpacks, but I work at the utility company, the electric company, and we have a budget for promo items. We can give you 1,000 backpacks." So you just start walking, step by step, and you take this step and you figure that step out. Um, you make some mistakes along the way, right? You realize that when you give kids canned food and fresh fruit, sometimes that canned food will smash that fruit and make a mess. It'll leak everywhere or it'll mold, and it's a disaster. You learn that I have so much useless information in my head. You you learn. We had peanut butter is a big thing, right? You
Mhm.
always hear about, well, we need to give uh, kids in need. They love peanut butter. Um, and so the nutritionist in me goes, okay, peanut butter, protein, fats, like carbs. It's a good, it's a good food to have. Um, so we would buy gosh, truckload pallets worth of peanut butter. We had this little storage, this little garage that we were storing stuff in, not climate controlled. Rats would get in it and they would chew through the peanut butter and then it was all wasted and, so it's it's been like a comedy of errors to a point to figure out, "Okay, this works and this doesn't work." Um, yeah, you just have to just commit and say, "Hey, we're gonna figure out," it's like eating the elephant one bite at a time, right? It's just, "I'm gonna do this one thing and figure out this one piece," because otherwise, launching something from the ground up, anything, I think, can be overwhelming.
I agree. Anything can be overwhelming for sure. So who were the people that you had that kind of supported you, around you, mentors and stuff that kind of helped you along the way?
I reached out to a couple of people who were in the nonprofit space. Um, Coming from the music scene in Austin, I knew lots of people who had great hearts, very generous people. Um, but to take that into an organizational, aspect, like how do we build something legitimate? I reached out to a couple of people in the nonprofit space, and I kind of shadowed them for a period of time. Like I would go visit. There's a place called the Serving Center that's local, and I would go visit them, and they were really generous and let me shadow their staff and walk me through their process of how they get inventory, and how they rotate things, how they get things out distributed, how they manage their client list, all that kind of stuff. Um, I met with a woman named Jen who oversees a bunch of nonprofits in Central Texas, and she sat down with a legal pad and just kinda went, "Okay, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to know this person, here's so and so's email address," and I probably spent 7 or 8 months just cold calling, emailing, stalking people, online and, social media going, "H like, how do you do this? Who do you know that I need to know?" Um, and just building it that network.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, and you can answer this. It was all about your purpose and stuff that kept you going, right? Would that be the right answer?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. You always hear this saying that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life,
Mm,
right? I mean, and I've always kinda looked at that and went, "Well, yeah, okay. I mean, it's still work, like, it's still effort." Um, but there's something about when your passion and your gifts, um, align with purpose. Like, if you somebody told me in all this process, a guy named Daniel, he just said, "Dude, just trust your gift. Just trust that what's in you is the spark that you need to do the work." And, if it were not for passion and purpose, I probably would have quit about 7 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. And how long have you been doing it?
So we started in 2014.
Okay. Yeah, it's a long
So,
time.
yeah. Yeah, a long time, and we started just as a group of a neighborhood group of volunteers. Just,
Yeah.
we had people in our church and small groups and j all those different people, um, very unorganized, very, trying to figure it out, um, and so that, especially in those early days, I probably would have thrown in the towel 6 or 9 months into it and went, this is like, it's too much."
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, everything's tough, I think, when you get started, but it sounds like you had to drive a little bit. The thing that was pushing you, your purpose, your passion, the alignment, and everything was going forward, even though you hit the rocky road. Where do you see this going? Like, you're just in Austin? Is that where you're focusing?
we're the lion's share of what we do is in Austin. We have serviced other areas north and south of us, Waco to San Antonio, kind of that stretch there. Um, uh, I'm in talks with some people. We're talking about moving down to, branching out into the coast of Texas,
Mm,
down along the Gulf Coast, because there's a lot of need. Galveston County is a big need area. And in fact, I have a meeting tomorrow. We're talking about launching a project in Canada, in Ontario,
nice.
with some people that I met at the conference.
There you
So,
go.
it's just the big thing is just awareness. People don't realize there's a need, and when people realize there's a need in their own backyard, then I'm always surprised at the people that look up and go, "Wait, can we do that here?" "Well, of course you can do that. Dude, if I can do this, anybody can do this." Um, yeah, and so it's just that thing. I mean, I would love to see us have a nationwide program where we have something in every major city, major populous area, it wouldn't have to be huge in those areas, but just a seed of something to begin to make some change,
Hmm.
and really build some momentum. I think that'd be really, really cool.
Yeah. Do you have a feeling of how you would start something like that?
I do. I do. I have a lot of friends, a lot of connections across different states and all that kind of thing. We've actually put together best practices, kind of a manual. That's, hey, if you want to start this, here it is. You just download it. I will mentor you. I'll help you get it going. I mean, we have all kinds of resources to do that with. Um, it's finding the right people who would do it. They don't have to be as passionate as me. You just need to care about kids. You need to be able to look up and have the belief that no kid should be hungry
Mhm.
in our country.
Mhm.
No kid, and I can't cover every kid in Ontario. I can't cover every kid in New Mexico, but I can focus where I am, and then hopefully someone else will catch the vision for where they are, and then we can partner together.
Awesome. Well, hopefully somebody listening to this, watching this, they can connect with you and put it in their
Yeah.
community too. Um, do you have any stories besides the one where she fainted, that you can share that have because of this, it has been an impact for their lives? Maybe the family member said something?
Yeah, how much time do you have? Yeah, yeah, I gotta
Well, this is good. I'm glad to hear that you
it's
have so many.
yeah, it's funny, the kids in our program, they're amazing, man. We have this one school. I won't tell you the name because I don't wanna, divulge any private information. We have this one school that we wanted to do something special for. We had, I don't know, 50 or 60 kids on this elementary school campus that we were serving, and, so we show up on a Friday to award some prizes for things. They'd been working on reading so many books during the year, and they got awards at school. And one of the things that we gave away was these three big boxes that were filled with food for Thanksgiving. So you just imagine, you know, a turkey and pie and bread and all the, stuffing and all the things. And we gave it to this one kid, a fifth grader, who had read the most books or whatever. And I mean, all these kids are in our program. So um, this was a little boy who had two younger siblings, single mom. And we called him into the office and he was so excited. I was like, "Here, so and so, like you won the grand prize, and here's all this stuff for Thanksgiving. Y'all gonna have a great time." And man, he starts going, "Yeah, man, I knew I would win. I knew I would win." He was so excited, big old smile on his face, and he starts talking about how with our program, not only he had food, but his siblings had food also, because he had been, kinda he had been kinda hoarding food from school and taking it home and sharing it with his younger siblings, 2nd and 3rd grade or 1st and 3rd grade, something. So anyway, so he turns around and he walks off and goes and talks to the counselor for a minute. Well, he breaks down and cries. I'll probably get emotional, but he just he's weeping, and the counselor, Tanya, comes over to us, and says, "Hey, I just want you to know Justin, just told me that he was so excited about winning this food because there's an absent father, there's no father at home, and as the oldest, he felt like he was the man of the family, and this was the way he provided for his family for Thanksgiving." And of course, then we're all crying and emotional. Um, and so you have stories like that where you see the impact that food makes in a kid's life. We serve kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. If they're in school at any age. I got a call from one of the counselors at a school here, and there's a little girl a kindergartner, who's out on the playground, and, you know, just fighting and sad and just having a bad day emotionally. Well, the counselor pulls her over to the side and says, "Hey, what's going on? Like, are you having a bad day? Do you not feel good?" It was a Friday, and she was anxious about not being able to eat anything um, over the weekend. And so it was just this moment of her realizing that she was having these emotions, and she didn't realize it was connected to the weekend. That took a conversation to dig that up. So the counselor asked her, "I'm sure you have something at home to eat." Well, this kindergartner, she listed off 6 things, in her pantry. Those were the only 6 things, and one of those was like a cake mix. So there's literally not food in the house. Um, we put her in the program. That was in, oh gosh, September or October, and we put her in the program. Um, by Christmas break in December, the same counselor, calls me back and says, "You're not gonna believe this little girl. Her grades have gone up. She's not missing any school days. She's happier, like her peer relationship. She's become a helper in class, like she's doing all these things." And it sounds it sounds silly in the beginning when you hear that, but now we have data from all of these kids that are in the program, their grades have gone up, like their behavior has improved. There's all these metrics that we have that shows the impact of just, no anxiety about food and feeding their bodies, and which feeds their minds, prepares them for school on Monday to learn. Um, we One of the things that happens, I'll tell you this, is because of the kids we have in the program, we get reports from parents a lot. A lot of the parents will come to us and tell us stories about things. A lot of um, a lot of neighbors of these kids will report to us and say, "Hey, you don't know me, but so and so is my neighbor, and their child's in your program. They have a little T-shirt. They have all these things." Um, I have this buddy. His name is Tom. Also, he's much cooler than I am. He is a retired um, Vietnam veteran. He was in Vietnam. He is a business guy now. He's a retired police detective. Like, he's a salty 80-year-old guy. Like, he's just this salty old dude. Um, so he calls me one day on a Friday, and of course we delivered food to the campus that day. And Tom's neighbor, her kids are in our program. And so she calls him and she says, "Hey, my car's in the shop. Can you take me down to the school to pick up the girls at 3 o'clock?" So they hop in his car, they go down to the school, they pick them up. The girls come out. The food is supposed to be in their backpacks to keep it anonymous, right? But the girls, it's a kindergarten and a third grader, their backpacks are full of stuff. I mean, that's, they those kids, they pack their backpacks with so much stuff. So they come out carrying these bags of food, and the girls hop in the back seat, and Tom tells me, he says, "I just wanted to know what the kids would say. Like, I know your program, I've been to all your things and helped you volunteer." So he looks in the rearview mirror and he says to the girls in the back seat, "Hey, what is that? What do you got there?" And the kindergartner she's beaming, and she says, "This is our backpack friends food. Like, we get to eat this weekend." Um, and this crusty detective is, crying like a Gilmore Girl, like, he's just bawling on the end of the phone, um, because when you hear it from the kids' mouths, when you hear it out of the mouth of babes, right? When you hear it from them, it means something different, like, that's a game changer. We had a I'll tell you this, I'm a coffee junkie, so anytime someone says coffee, like, I'm in. So, one of our sponsors is a coffee, chain called Dutch Bros. I don't know if you guys have it there or not, but it started in, Portland, and it's moved south, and we have several of them here. So they come out and they do this corporate, packing party, the whole Beyoncé and Costco and, like, they're packing stuff, and they're all millennials. They're all 20, 19 to 23, 24-year-old, right out of high school, kinda first job, employees. We go through this whole event, and then I'm doing some Q&A at the end, and I'm asking, "What questions do you have about the program? What would you like to know?" And this girl, she's 20, raises her hand, beautiful girl, raises her hand in the back and I think she has a question, so I call on her, and what she says is, "You don't know this, but when I was in high school, I relied on these bags all 4 years of school, and I wanted to come tonight to give back, to be part of the solution." Um, you could have heard a pin drop in that warehouse. That was an amazing moment, of gratitude and fulfillment that, "Hey, we started feeding this girl 6 years ago, and now she's graduated high school, she has a job, and she, for whatever reason, when the sign up rolled around at her shop, decided, 'Yeah, I wanna go. I wanna be there that night.'" Um, that's a really humbling thing. That's a real honoring thing, um, to have things like that happen. And again, that goes back to purpose and drive. Like, without those kinds of stories, I might have thrown in the towel,
Yeah.
you know? Those kinds of things happen, and I'm like, "Man, we can't quit now. Like, we have to keep going." Um, it's just been a huge, uh, grateful thing.
Yeah, those are moving stories that you just shared, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch more that you said. You said how much time we have,
Yeah.
um, but it is creating a huge impact, and you are making a movement, right? And um, I also find it hard too sometimes when you don't hear the stories. How do you keep moving forward, right? It's great that you get to hear that and you get to see it and all take place and everything. Like that's cool. Um, but I know you're touching so many more people that you don't even know that that you're making an impact on. Um, Tom, I appreciate you sharing everything and diving into all this and sharing how much you're creating an impact in your community. And I know you want to take this so much bigger. I don't know when or how that's going to look, and I know that you have some thoughts, but I know that you're going to get there. Um, and it'd probably be sooner than later, and you just don't know that yet either. But what's the best way for maybe somebody in your community to reach out and help in your area, or maybe somebody in another state that might be interested in starting something like this? How can those people connect with you and learn more?
Yeah, no, thank you, man. Backpackfriends.com is the easiest way. You know, all our info is there, Backpack Friends Official, across every social media that you can think of. from Substack to TikTok to whatever. Um, yeah, and it's, it's so easy to make a difference. Like, it doesn't take a lot to make a big difference. It takes a lot of us to do a little bit. Um, yeah, any of that kind of stuff. Anybody that would like to either help here or just want to talk about, hey, how do I make an impact in my community? How do I make an impact in my neighborhood? We have resources, we have connections. Um, it takes all of us doing all these different things to build the kind of world we want to live in, right? Somebody, our focus is children. Somebody else focuses on homelessness or health or adults or PTSD and veterans and other services. Um, and it takes all of us to create the kind of society that is a blessing to everybody, where everybody can succeed.
You're right. It does take all of us. I agree with that. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. I'll put that in the show notes and everything so people can click on it. So, Tom, as you probably already know, I ask the same question every guest I have. What are three key things you've learned and used along your journey?
Oh man, I knew you were gonna ask that question. Uh,
So you have it written down somewhere, right?
no, I've been thinking about it.
uh,
Um, Three key things that I have learned. Um, Number one would have to be trust your gift. I believe that there's something in us, uniquely in us, that no one else can do. Like no one else can be John like John can be John.
mm,
Um, so number one, I would say trust your gift. Number two, I would say do it scared. Like um, just do it scared. You don't have to have all the answers to start. I think people. I can speak for me. I think in the beginning, I was afraid to get started because we were small. And I think sometimes people are afraid to be seen as starting small, and they're afraid of criticism or failure or whatever. Just do it scared. You'll figure it out. Say yes and figure it out, right? And I would have to say the third thing that has really made a difference that I've learned is that when you do what is within you, what's already been put in you, if you bring that forth, then what's in you will save you. If you don't do what's in you to do, then I think what is in you can wreck you. Because we don't want to. I don't want to die with regrets. I don't want to look back on my life, when I'm 80 or 90 or 100 years old and go, man, I wish I'd really tried to make an impact. Um, you know, uh, I want to leave it. I want to leave it all on the table and just do it scared and figure it out.
it's awesome. So, with saying that, did you have like a set goal of a number of children to help at the moment? When you first started out.
So when we first started out, I wanted to feed 10,000 kids.
Okay.
I wanted to hit 10,000. I thought, man, this would be great. And it took us a while. It took us 4 years to hit 10,000. And then momentum starts to build, and we start to grow. And then we get 100 and 150 and now 200,000. Um, Now I'm trying to be judicious. Um, but man, I can't wait till we feed 1,000,000 kids.
Hmm.
I can't wait.
Yeah. What a feeling, huh?
Yeah, man.
you're doing it. I'm feeling it here, right? Um, but I'm sure what a moment it was when you hit the 10,000 and like now you could impact just one person, one kid, right? But then to hit 10,000, now 200,000 and who knows how much more, like you said, a million would be great. But yeah, that's all about you started, it takes a little bit and it keeps moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so funny because it's like you start, like, with those 10,000, right?
Mhm.
And you celebrate that, and I think it's important to celebrate all of those things. Like, after we fed our first 100 we celebrate it. After that girl that I told you about who raised her hand and said, "Hey, I relied on those bags," um, we celebrated that because that's what galvanized us, to say, "Look, it's working. Like,
Mm.
we're making an impact. Like, we can't take our foot off the gas now." Those are things that I think sometimes we get so busy focused on moving forward that we don't stop and celebrate, "Hey, this just happened. This is a this is a once in a lifetime thing. We need to celebrate this moment." I think that's super important too.
I agree. And so real quick, what kind of a celebration would that be? Just like hooray, or you go do something, you buy something?
So the with the 100, when we celebrated the 100, we all went out for pizza and drinks. Like, that was like, "Woo, we're gonna do this." Um, when we hit 100,000 and 150 and 200,000, we have this big celebration at the warehouse, where we bring in, like, an ice cream truck and balloons, or we have live music, or we do something like that, with our volunteers, and I kinda send word out to some of our key sponsors
Mm.
to say, "Hey, this is gonna happen. It's gonna be a surprise to the volunteers." The volunteers don't know when it happens, except they, you know, walk into the warehouse and they go, "Oh my gosh, this place looks like a party's happening." And then, banners show up and the ice cream truck shows up or whatever. And yeah, yeah, we try to do something special. When we hit 1,000,000, dude, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have like, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know. We got a minute to figure it out, but you'll
You
have to
better
come
hurry
back to
up
Texas,
before
man.
you know it, though.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So,
And thanks, Tom. This has been great. I appreciate it. I'm glad, everything's working for you and everything's, helping these kids out and stuff. And I hope to see you here again soon to tell me you hit 1,000,000.
yeah. Yeah, thank you, and this has been an honor just to sit and visit with you and see you again.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.